I need it. I'm feeling it.
Hello and welcome to Phases Podcast, the unpopular genre. Period. Oh my goodness. Okay, so short story as always. Y'all know this episode, the podcast is supposed to be out on Mondays, right? That's been a new commitment. However, kids are beautiful. Kids are beautiful. And my son had broke my SD card as I was editing my content for the week. Everything gone from videos I was supposed to upload, from choreography I was supposed to send out. Everything gone. I am trying to still revive it, but almost got it stuck in the camera because I put tape around it. It just was the best. So thankfully we had a backup, but yeah, I was literally I had it all ready to go and it didn't work out. But everything happens for a reason, because I felt like I already wanted to put some fresh content up. I recorded that one. That was probably my last recorded one that had to get posted. I'm really trying to get better with posting closer to the time in which I record. One moment. My child is supposed to be taking a nap and that doesn't sound like it's happening. One moment. Can we just shout out the clear skin, the edges coming in, the everything, the hair. I think we just need to validate all of this right now. Alright, so boom. I am excited because I actually do have a couple guests that's going to be coming on a podcast soon. That's all I'm going to say about that until we actually see that come into fruition. So boom, so first things first. We're going to get into conversations surrounding toxic relationships from the rip. I think that's necessary. I feel like there is a lot of glorification of toxic relationship. A lot of glorifying of toxics. I gave it up. There's a lot of glorifying of toxic relationships right now. Period. I know for weeks, bro. Weeks. I got so tired of seeing Blueface and his girl on my timeline. Constantly. And it's just crazy because we really do live in a time where people really don't understand values, first of all, but just how relationships is not always what it seems, especially when it's being portrayed through the eyes of a lens, which is the things we see on social media and whatnot. And what I really have to say is we really have to be mindful of the ties that we get into with people, right? And we also have to really realize how serious a relationship is. When you have people who are giving advice about relationships and have no relationship skills whatsoever, this is what you get. Everything that you practically are seeing today. It's so crazy. If I got, I'm gonna put up obviously on the screen. But I found so many, I was on my timeline, and I think because I used to follow these little quote pages, it was just showing me all these quotes or whatever, or stuff that people would be posting, and it was in regards to just relationships. And I'm just bro, we've really got to let go of this toxic way of thinking when it comes to these relationships. So boom, I put up on the screen. It says, I don't care what you say. You were the first guy who started to heal my inner child. The first guy who made me want to love so much again. The first guy who made me want to give you the absolute most. The first guy who I would only really risk it all for. The first guy who always comforted me with my family problems. The first guy who made me want to try harder to be a better version of myself. This is really where it all starts. And some people can reason with it and be oh, that's just, talk or whatever. No, if you really do observe the younger women in this generation and how much the livelihood is surrounded by relationships, validation, it's nothing but a bunch of daddy issues when you boil it down to it. But this is what's being put out into the world, right? So even when it comes to friendships, like I always say, The friendship category is weakened because the relationship category is weakened. People really do put more emphasis on relationships than they do friendships. And especially nowadays, when people get a man, it's like you go on a complete hiatus. I feel like for the last couple of years, I could just easily observe when people like, oh, that ain't a relationship, and then you're just completely loose. I feel like that is just not really a healthy way of really functioning in your relationship, because you're solely dependent upon your mate. And I feel like it's so important to have healthy boundaries when it comes to relationships. You need your girlfriends, you need your advisors, you know what I'm saying? You need your venters, like those you go to and just freely, like you need all the different compartments, I feel, in order to have like a really good healthy relationship. And I feel like when you put all of those expectations on one person, this is what you get. A lot of people right now that's nothing but what it is, like unrealistic expectations. You've made your boyfriend or your girlfriend be your every waking breath, and it's just like, that's not really appropriate, or should I say that's not really healthy, because at the end of the day, like I said, you need all the other areas, and I feel like that's part of the whole relationship piece that's not being pushed out. Of course not, because it's to help you, right? So, of course society is going to push all the toxicity, all the things that we should be really going against at the end of the day. So I just kind of feel like even when it comes to having a healthy relationship from the rip, you have to have those boundaries. Don't go into relationships giving your all, and if you have a relationship where it's sucking the life out of you, where it is taking up every aspect of your life, I feel like that's already signs of an unhealthy relationship from the rip, because you're not even prioritizing the things that mean most to you. And even what people don't even realize, with the whole toxic thing being pushed so I don't want to say so much, but because it is being pushed a lot, but it's being like glorified, because it's, how you want to say it, like it's being covered up or sugarcoated with the whining and dining, the gift giving, things that girls really just want done for them on a natural basis, and could have if they vocalize a little bit more how in their relationship they want to see certain things done. But a lot of times the immaturity that comes with relationships, you want him to know everything, or you want her to know everything and have it all figured out for you to not even be able to have to say anything, because for some reason, if I tell you how I want to be treated, then you're not going to do it authentically. When in all actuality, bro, when you really sit back and think about how different we are all different. Like, even when you think about DNA, there's nobody's DNA that's like yours, bro. So with that being said, if I'm going into a new relationship with a new man who's getting to know me, wouldn't the best method be for me to show them and teach them the things that work best for me, and then vice versa, them do the same, so I can learn more about them? And I know people would definitely try to disagree with that, because I remember reading something, somebody was pretty much just trying to say, like, showing somebody how to love you means that pretty much they don't know how to love you or don't know how to love from the rip. And I feel like that's a lie. And here's the perfect example of why I say that. Say if you had a man whose mom never showed him affection. The whole taking the time, talking, understanding the feelings, all that kind of stuff. Say that just was non-existent. Right? They will, since they weren't taught, go into a relationship maybe not expressing affection, or their romance side is really not that strong because nobody's ever showed them, I remember seeing a TikTok post where somebody was trying about how men already know how to be a romantic, if that was what the word, or know how to be romantic without you having to show or tell them anything. Like, I just be really listening to all this stuff, and it's just like, no wonder. Like, and this is even when I said back before, people have never really even been in circles in which surround themselves with people who have healthy relationships. They don't choose to even seek those individuals out. They don't choose to change their viewpoint by maybe seeking therapy or something like that. It's just like everything's automatically just like a negative. And it's like, no, a lot of times it's just a difference. It's not negative, it's just a difference. Even when you think about it, a girl could be the same way. Not every female, just because we, didn't have a dad to show us and love us the way that we needed to be loved, automatically just knows how to love and be romantic. And no, like, it's a lot of issues that come with that as well. A lot of times people who do have daddy issues going into relationships are very vulnerable, but also very overextending of themselves, I feel. And I'm speaking from my own personal experiences as well. Very overextending, very lack boundaries, give so much. And even now being an adult, and where I'm at in my life right now, it's so crazy. I was thinking one day when I was meditating, I was thinking about how it's really my fault that I ever did too much for somebody and they never appreciated it, or I overextended myself in a way and this person didn't reciprocate the same energy back. And the reason, and I'm saying that in relationships, friendships, whatever, I put that accountability on myself. Why? Because when I thought about it, who told you to? You being a nice person does not have to come at the sacrifice of you always doing something or you overly extending yourself. You just being generous in your spirit, you know what I'm saying, in your vibe, in your presence is enough. So a lot of times when we just be a little Joe and kind of do too much and then things don't end up working out the way that we wanted it to, it's so easy to be like, oh, this person, I'm not gonna show no love to nobody no more, or you know what I'm saying? I see that one all the time, oh, I'm not gonna be a nice person no more because nobody appreciates a good person. When all in actuality, the best good people have the greatest boundaries. And I say that because I was starting to become very hard when it came to my circle, who I be around. I was just always I just became so particular in who I wanted to be around. But I also knew that was associated with some trust issues too, because I looked at how I allowed myself to get treated by other people. What did I do too much of? Enough boundaries, certain things like that. So when you start to put pictures and put those type of pieces together, what that can help you see is that maybe you just had toxic ways that you function in a relationship. And I think sometimes by having that accountability, it does put some type of work back on ourselves. We're not perfect. A lot of the females that really, because cheating is so big. So a lot of females, honest, are just responding off of the same common hurt, which is cheating. But I feel like when you do the work and you do recognize the fault in which you had in certain situations, you feel like the vibe to grow more, and you don't want to be stunted in your growth. You kind of be like, okay, I want to move past this. The best way to move past it is to take that accountability, because we don't always have it figured out right. And I think that's sometimes too, even with women in a relationship, we honestly do go because we think we done had this past, we done bounced back like this, you know what I'm saying? We done did this much for ourselves over this time period. But a lot of times you amount your worth to how much money you make, or money, finances, education, or degrees, materialistic things. I feel like we as women, it's easy for us to do these things, right? Like, okay, I got my own house, own money, own this, own this. But what do you really have? These are all physical things. I mean, you really think about it, what do you really bring to the table? Other than things that can be taken away from you in a matter of seconds, or, you know, something happening to you that would cause you to not be able to even do those things, what do you have to the core to break? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are just the conversations that's not happening. Like, I just feel like I got a little deep, a little down the rabbit hole. But it's just like that's just like the walking process that I kind of go when it comes to relationship, because it's like everybody really thinks like what they're seeing on social media is where it's at, and it's not, you know. And it's like, okay, when you put aside the glitz and the glamour, this is why you kind of just gotta love where you're at in your life. Like, everybody's love story is for them and for them only, because when you see them in conversation, or when you see what's being presented to social media, there's no conversations being had half the time. All you're seeing is luxury and gifts, whining and dining, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing wrong with that. But people really do place relationship values on those things, and it's like, how? I remember, you know, me on TikTok, there was a podcast that this girl was on, and she was talking about how, you know, she wants to have the man with the money and the sport, just the whole whatever, you know, the whole glitz and glamour. And the guy asked her, what happens if your husband couldn't work anymore though? That's what she said. Oh, I'm gonna find a new husband. But when you think about it, think about how many women, especially young women, follow that mentality. Okay, if he's not whining and dining, if he's not taking me out every day, if he's not buying or renting out a hotel room or Airbnb with the roses and the works, that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's not the image in which really should be like your goals, I feel. You know, I look at things when I see couples. I like to see couples when I hear them talking. So I like relationship podcasts. Like, okay, what are y'all conversations? You know, like, you definitely should be doing all the work as far as finding out who you're dealing with. Like I said, especially if you're not married, utilizing that time, because I just feel like a lot of times people waste a lot of time in relationships today. And I don't think we realize like the responsibility that comes. Like, relationships are life altering. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, just a side note, I'm just getting a little irritated because I'm thinking about the podcast that got deleted, and we really was getting into this. Relationships are a connection, you know, a bonding, you know. But I feel like you gotta still be in tune to the relationship, in tune to who you're talking to and who you're dating. So that was the first. So now we're gonna get into what this week's social views was. It's so easy to get caught up with all the drama, rather than social media in your personal life. Just so many things, and a lot of times it's just a distraction from you getting to, you know, do the things that you really need to do. I have completely changed my mentality when it has come to God, religion, and just, you know, feeling as if I have to be perfect in order to just be able to pray. Like, those days are really over. So I kind of feel like that maybe be something for you to understand too. Like, if you really are just sitting over here waiting for perfection in order for you to like get your life right with God, I feel like that's not going to be the best method for you. Because if that was the case, the world would have ended up like years ago, if we was waiting on everybody to be perfect in the present time. You know, my thing is, working towards better each day is the number one priority. You know, God is the only one can see you and read you up and down. So therefore, when you start kind of having that type of mentality, I know I did, it starts to put a lesser priority on what how people think of you, you know, or what their thoughts are. And I know that's how I think I was like in a chokehold, a mental and emotional chokehold surrounding people and opinions. And oh my goodness, it used to like really stress me out, even during times in which I was doing a lot spiritually, you know. And so even once the roles had switched, it's like, okay, wait, people judge you when you're doing great, good, and when you at your worst. You know what I'm saying? So why do I care, or why am I going to sit up here and concern myself unnecessarily with people who are so invested in what everybody else got going on that it distracts them from the real problem. You know what I'm saying? Definitely want to put that out there because, like I said, it's a lot about to happen. Y'all need to get y'all, your pantry stocked. All of the essentials just has to be like main priority. And I feel like since I'm already still on that mom wave where it's just like everything has just been surrounding my son since he's in the early stages right now, technically, it's like I have nothing else to do but consume myself with what's serious. You know what I'm saying? Granted, have fun, have a good time, but it's like, or should I say, don't make your life too serious, but definitely take in consideration important things for sure, because it's a lot going on, and it's just better to just kind of not be blind to it. A lot of people are really blind to it, but there's a lot of people who are not. A lot of people know what's going on out here as well, and you don't really have to be a rocket science to figure it out. And whether you believe in God or not, you still know like what's going on. So I feel like I wanted to get into kicking kids out of the house at 18 or more so just like a lack of preparation when kids are being sent into the adult world. Feel like we got into this a little while ago, but I wanted to just touch on it a little bit more because I feel like right now it's always been this thing like, okay, my kids are 18, and it's just this instant release of responsibility, of assistance, of dependency. Like, there are so many things that happen with that, and I feel like not only does it create like a negative, it puts like a negative taste into a relationship, especially with your parent, because it's like, what's the rush? But I also feel like parents really can't sit back and talk about why their kid is not as productive as they wish they would be if you know that you didn't offer the appropriate assistance to help your child get there. Granted, you do have some kids whose parents give them the world, the life on a platter, help, assist, do everything, and they can still self-sabotage it. Just because somebody had, used something or didn't appreciate something and it turned out in a negative way, that does not have to be. That's just an example. It's just an example. So I kind of just feel like even as a parent now, it's like I don't really want to ever push that narrative. If this word even lasts that long, it's like I don't ever want to push that narrative where my child feels like at 18, him and his father has just relinquished all type of responsibility. I feel like, if anything, I want my son to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, for real, from 18 to 21, I would rather my child be in my hands. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just so much that I feel like happens when you're rushing to get freedom. And not always is it a bad thing, because sometimes people are rushing up out of their parents' house because the peace is crazy. People are like, oh, but you rushed up out of there. A lot of times we grew up in some crazy childhoods, okay? Yeah, rushing soon as the age turns 18, but so that's even more of a generational curse for real. When we have already a toxic home, but then on top of that, a toxic way of just pushing our kids out into the world. It's like, no. And honestly, any child who's really been in that predicament and you bounce back and you land on your feet, kudos to you, because it's very hard. But also on the other flip side of it, if you found that you have been like pushed off into the world a little faster than you were ready, and you may not be as far along as you may want to be, guess what? Tomorrow is a new day. Tomorrow is a new day. It's all about reevaluation. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, we can get into a whole disarray about what somebody did or how this, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, we just always can do better. And like I say, if it couldn't be done, it wouldn't be done. You know what I'm saying? So if you have an example that you even have in your modern day life, or, just a vision of where you want to be, that's realistic for you, that works for you, that's healthy for you, pursue that, pursue that, and taking it one day at a time is just necessary. Everybody, we all answer for everything that we've done. So parents we will. It's like we got to constantly keep pushing to do better. But I really hate that whole kick out at 18 thing, you know, especially when you're not financially stable. It does push like younger people to just go in a negative direction. Like now you just instantly want to do the bar scene, or you want to do the scamming scene, or you want to just, you know, do the drug scene. You know, it's just like you want to now enter into areas in which are not really healthy for you, but you've been put in a predicament where you feel like it's no other choice. Sad. It's sad. It's sad. So I just feel like that's just the generational growth awareness for this week, is just assistance. Even if you know somebody, we can't really change the grooming. We can't change people and how they think, you know. So at the end of the day, I feel like it's just best solutions. I actually wanted to start doing a couple videos on my YouTube channel just of grooming. Like, okay, let's talk about getting our driver's license. Let's talk about this, that. Because I feel like so many essential things that when I got of age and was like, okay, now I'm starting to try to get on my own, certain things just came as a, okay, need this, need this, need this, need this. So I feel like just kind of sharing a little bit of that could possibly help a couple people just kind of get it together. Because it's kind of like if nobody tells you, how will you really know? And then if anything, now we're just prolonging, getting something done. And it's just a matter of just we just don't know how. So I said I wanted to try to use my platform as a way to kind of encourage the need to not have to be so prideful, but know like it's okay to not know. Because I know for me, I didn't know a lot of things, you know, but I used to blame myself or guilt myself so much for the things I didn't know. And it's like, you just didn't know, you know, it's okay. So without any further ado, I will see you in the next one.
She give me time, I'ma take it.